We mentioned in the last example taking polls before elections to gauge public opinion. One of the techniques that pollsters use is to look at a group of people called floating voters. Floating voters are people who have been identified to be in a particular social group that may vote either way in an election, depending on the situation at the time. However, as we can see here, within our group of floating voters, we have some definite Conservative voters and some definite Labour voters. If we were taking a sample of size 3 from this group, and we chose this group here, this may well give us a biased opinion, since 2 of our 3 are definite Labour voters. This sample would not therefore be representative of this entire population. Another example would be doing a survey of heights. Suppose this population are the pupils at the college that we discussed in an earlier example. They have various heights, as with any group. However, if we chose a sample of 3 and we chose these 3, we could end up with the 3 tallest pupils at the college in our sample. Once again, this would give us a biased view of the population. There are potentially other sources of bias. One of these is an incomplete sampling frame. If we have an incomplete sampling frame, we don't know all of the sampling elements in our population, and this could well lead to bias because there might be a particular reason that these people are missing from our sampling frame. Another cause of bias is personal subjective choice. Let's suppose that somebody is performing a survey in a street. They might be more likely to approach one type of individual than another, and therefore this introduces bias. Non-response is another source of bias. For example, if the post office was surveying their users, they would write out to many of their clients. Most people wouldn't respond. Those most likely to respond are those who have had a problem with the postal service. It's known that people are much more likely to complain if they've had bad service than they are to actually praise good service. Therefore, most people who are happy with the service would be non-responders. However, it can be very difficult to quantify how many of the non-responders are happy with the service. It's also difficult to assume what their answers may be to the questions in the survey. Another cause of bias can be substituting convenient sampling units. For example, when conducting a telephone survey, if somebody's not in, they just pass on to the next person in the list. This can mean that many people who are actually in the survey were not in the original sample.